Hello, and everyone roll initiative because kobolds rock, and I'm here to tell you why. Welcome to my channel, I'm Puddles. We have another video on creature combinations. Usually I focus on synergy and how to get like a badass wombo combo, but today we're just going to talk about kobolds because I love them, and I want to tell everybody how amazing they are and why they are amazing. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. Kobolds! Little dragon minion servant people are awesome. Why are they awesome? Well, firstly, they're super versatile. You can put them in your early campaign just as like little annoying creatures that set traps and hoard treasure from your players, or they can be minions to a nefarious dragon who is basically the big bad evil guy of your campaign. You could have kobolds throughout an entire campaign if you wanted to. They're good at like setting traps, they're good at fighting, they're good at ambushes. You can like sorcery powers because they're like draconic blood. There's a lot that you can do with them, and it's not level dependent. I think they're still useful creatures to use at higher levels as well. Pack tactics. So these two next points sort of go together. Pack tactics and the fact that they scale surprisingly well are sort of intermingled. Usually when you're like getting a bit higher and your players are getting higher ACs with magic items or abilities or whatever, your lower creatures with their +4 to hit are going to miss a hell of a lot of the time. With pack tactics, they get advantage, which means they are going to hit a lot more often. You'd be surprised how much more damage a bunch of kobolds will do to higher level parties than creatures that are considered stronger than them because of pack tactics. And they also have like some other creatures in Volos that are a bit beefier and a bit tougher, like the dragon shields, which you can use in later games as well, which means they scale well. They pair well with others. There's so many creatures in the Monster Manual and Volos and Modern Canons that you can pair kobolds with. And they scale throughout the levels. You can put them with guard drakes. You can have them with dragons, obviously, later on. With wyverns, which is something that we're going to talk about later. You can skin them so that they're magical creatures. You can put them on basilisks. You can have them fighting with lizard people. There's heaps of different things that you can use them for. And lastly, the reason they rock is dragons. Dragons are cool, okay? The game's name is Dungeons and Dragons. There's half of the name is dragons. Everyone loves dragons. And these guys are usually in cahoots with dragons. And if you've got like a really long story with kobolds in there and then you finish it with a dragon, I think that's like a good story arc. And it is very D&D. But now that I've told you why I like them, let's just go over an encounter, or at least look at the kobolds. So what I'm going to talk about is using wyverns and kobolds together. So wyverns are freaking scary and awesome, and they have a lot of abilities that, if you use them strategically as a DM, make them even more terrifying. So 13 armor, 110 hit points. Not too crazy. They are CR6, so they've got a lot of hit points, but they're easy to hit. The big thing is the 80 movement of flying. So these guys are fast. They can get in and out, and your players are going to struggle to keep up with them. When they attack, they can multi-attack. They can attack with a bite or one with its stinger. The thing with wyverns, though, is they have a 10-foot reach. So their bite is 10 feet, their stinger is 10 feet, and their claws are 5 feet. So look at this guy. He can like use his snake head and attack with it, or he's got like a big barb on his tail and he hits with his stinger. He can do that at 10 feet. So he can fly in, attack your players from 10 feet away, and then fly away, and they don't get opportunity attacks on him. So that if you play a wyvern like that, they are very, very scary. And the damage that they do as well is pretty insane. 76 poison damage, plus 2d6 with just their stinger. So they are fast, they're pretty easy to hit, but they've got like a good health pool. They can get in and out without getting hurt, and they do a bunch of damage. So they're just a really fun, like I've always found in my combats that the faster or like more mobility a creature has, the more you can do with it. And wyverns are good at that. They are fast. And if you put some kobolds on their back, your kobolds are now fast as well. So, we'll just have a quick look at kobolds. Regular old kobolds, 5 hit points, 12 AC. They are the easiest things to kill. They have sunlight sensitivity, so it's hard to attack during the day. And they have pack tactics. And then they do D4 damage with their dagger and their sling. So regular kobolds are pretty weak. At higher levels, they're gonna die quickly, but you have lots of them, and like that's how kobolds are. That's the point of kobolds. Volos has some extra ones. There's the winged kobold, which I think might actually be in the monster manual. So again, only 7 hit points and 13 armor, but they can fly and they can drop rocks on people. So that is a pretty good combination with our wyvern, because then not only do you have kobolds on the back of the wyvern, you've also got kobolds flying in the air. So I think that's a good combination with that. Next, we have our dragon shields, which are our tanky, buffy, stronger kobolds. They have a lot more health, 44 hit points, 15 AC. They're only 20 movement speed. They have like different abilities that make them better at just like being in the front lines. They have advantage against being frightened, paralyzed. They have pack tactics, obviously, and then they have resistance to one type of damage. So whether it's fire if they're red scaled, or cold if they're white scaled, for example. And then they get 2 attacks, and they've got their shields and stuff. So they're just a bigger, beefier kobold. They're like the commander kobold who's like ordering all the others, or if there's a big army, there's like lieutenants. That's what they are, and because they are a little tougher, they scale well. They actually can put up a challenge for higher levels as well. And lastly, we have our Scale Sorcerer, which is 27 hit points, 15 armor, and it has spellcasting, and it has sorcery points. And it has pack tactics, which still works on like your spell attacks. So it's pretty good. They've only got up to level 2 spells. They've got Scorching Ray, Chromatic Orb. They've got Charm Person, things like that. So these guys are like good low-level casters that, if you have a lot of them in later games, they can even be useful in higher-level combats. So now that we've gone over these guys, there is also a Kobold Inventor, but I didn't want to add it to this because the Kobold Inventor has so many options and so many different things. I didn't want to confuse it and confuddle our video here. So we have our 4 different types of kobolds and our wyvern, and you can also like get NPCs. Like if you want a really high level magic caster, just use the mage NPC. Like it's a CR5, I think, and they have Fireball and all these different abilities, and just say that it's a Scale Sorcerer that's like the leader of the Scale Sorcerers, or something like that. Yeah, so you can reskin your NPCs to have other more varied roles. But let's have a look here. Let's look what we've got here. We've got a wyvern. We've got our Scale Sorcerer, who is going to be riding on the back of the wyvern and casting spells from it. We've got our 2 winged kobolds, who are going to try to keep up with the wyvern, but they're not going to, and they're just going to attack from the sky. You've got your commander of the ground troops, and you've got your ground troops. Now, this is for a level 5 encounter. This is considered deadly, and I think because of the wyvern, it's actually a pretty scary encounter, because the wyvern can do a lot of damage and can get away pretty easily. So the reason I would put this as like a level 5 encounter is because there's a big power spike for your players once they get level 5. All of your martial classes usually get 2 attacks to get 3rd level spells, so like 1 fireball could probably knock out all of the ground troops, and that's fine. Then all you're dealing with is the wyvern and the flying guys. But like if you were to put this encounter with like a few less kobolds at level 4, I think it would be a really bad idea, because your players don't have those abilities yet. So that's why I feel okay with putting this encounter with the level 5 players, because I think it'll be challenging and hard, and this wyvern's going to hit them really hard, but I think they could deal with it pretty handedly. So yeah, in terms of like strategy, your wyvern's going to be coming in and attacking and flying away. Your mage is going to be casting spells from a distance, and your ground troops are just going to come in and try to finish off your players. So it gives your melee classes who can't attack the wyvern things to do in terms of fighting the ground troops. So that's good. That makes the counter more interesting for them. And it has a lot of different elements. You've got like melee classes with pack tactics that are going to try and like do that. You've got your 2 winged kobolds trying to find a position to throw rocks from the sky. You've got a mage who can cast different spells, and you have your wyvern who, again, is going to just try come in and do all the damage that it can. So I think this would be a super fun encounter. In terms of synergy, this isn't really the point of this video like my other ones have been. This is just what I think is a fun encounter with fun creatures. And like I said, you can scale it up and put kobolds against higher levels. So in terms of narrative, it's dragons and kobolds. Wyverns are considered dragons, so your kobolds could just be like worshipping this wyvern, which would make total sense. Next, we have a level 9 encounter. Now, level 9, your players are getting pretty strong, so you can throw more at them. So this is literally this encounter doubled. Oh, sorry. So all of this is doubled. So there's 2 wyverns, there's 2 scale sorcerers, there's 2 of the commander dragon shields, there's 4 winged kobolds, and 8 regular kobolds. And I think that, and it's considered a deadly encounter, I think 5 level 9 or 4 level 9 players would deal with this much easier than the level 5 players would, because they have higher level spells and abilities and all that sort of stuff. But this again would be a pretty fun encounter. You'd have 2 wyverns, you could split them up, you could have them like go for the back lines and try to kill the squishy wizards, you could have your other wyvern go for the front lines, you've got a bunch of creatures on the ground that your melee players can go and try and kill. But yeah, I just think flying creatures with like having a mount or a spellcaster or a range caster on the back is a really good combination, because it keeps your casters away from the front lines so that they survive a few rounds of combat, whilst also the mobility to get in and to do things. But yeah, I've actually run a similar encounter to this with level 10 players actually. We had 2 wyverns and like a similar amount of kobolds, but it was like a pre-fight before an actual dragon fight. And it went well. It's probably one of the most entertaining combats that I've ever run. And I have done kobolds with like guard drakes defending eggs in like tombs. It was again one of the funnest encounters I've ever had. I've had kobolds with like a half dragon veteran that's in the monster manual, just as like a lower encounter with him being like the big bad evil guy. And again, it was an incredibly fun encounter. I don't know why, I have really entertaining encounters when I use kobolds. So I try to use them a lot. My players are probably sick of them by now, to be honest. But yeah, here's an idea for you to use kobolds and the reasons why I love them. Thanks for watching, and I hope it's been useful.